Hello, my friends. Here I want to speak again about yesterday's events, which are very tragic, and the situation or assassination of the Charlie Kirk shadowed the events which happened in Colorado in a local Evergreen High School, which is located in the mountain range already of the Colorado mountains. There was the shooting. It is very close to Denver. Now we have the information about the injured two students. I think in this case it's wounded, not injured. They were delivered to the hospital and put in intensive care. I hope they will recover. But the other student who opened the fire died actually of self-inflicted gunshot, so he unalived himself. The shooter was 16 years old male. Unfortunately, guys, this violence is happening all around the United States of America. Also, the school shootings, the number of the cases just skyrockets to the moon. For example, here's the number of the school shootings from 1966 till 2025, but this year hasn't been yet over. The data has some of the latency, so I expect the same number as it was in 2024, 2023. You see how high those cases went for the last few years. Yeah, Trump would obviously say it's because of the Joe Biden, because Trump lost the elections in 2020. But you know what? Judging from statistics of 2023, mostly red states have higher gun death rates than blue states in general, and the school shooting also lies into the same category. And you see that Trump was elected despite COVID. There was also the rise in the shooting cases in the schools that is also higher than in the previous years than Barack Obama was a president. So actually it's the lower amount of the cases here since 70s. Wow. But now it goes up exponentially, and the media are mostly calm about yesterday's case, for example, because Charlie Kirk shadowed everything with his death. Yeah, it all tells how media works. They are chasing sensation, some of the celebrity, famous person, everyone speaks about it, Donald Trump, Fox News, CNN. But the case that occurred exactly the same time with shooting of minorities in a school didn't get enough attention. And in a way, I would say it's even more important because it touches the lives of children. So we see the priorities, of those politicians and media. They want to speculate on what happened without even the guy found, the shooter. So far, while I'm recording this video, Kirk's shooter was not arrested, detained. No, he's out there running somewhere, or maybe sitting down, relaxing and drinking some whiskey. It doesn't matter because he was not found, and maybe he will never be found. It could be the case. But you know what? President of the United States and MAGA, they already found out who is guilty for it. Freaking Democrats. Personally, I don't really care about Republicans, Democrats, but they create so much hatred between each other, especially now from what I see coming from MAGA, from Fox News. It is crazy, guys.
And this isn't the first time this has happened. This is just the worst time. They shot Trump. They went to Kavanaugh's house with a rifle. They're firebombing Elon's cars, rioting in LA. Trans shooters are killing our kids.
He say trans shooters, so immediately speculation. Compared to the straight shooters, they're just tiny little minority of the transgender shooters. But for the Fox News, they just follow their own bias. And also Charlie Kirk, just before he was shot, he was asked the same question from some of the guy out there, commentator, who wanted to argue about shooting. And he asked the question to Kirk, like, how many do you think there are transgender shooters? And well, Charlie Kirk took the pause because it was an uncomfortable question for him. He said more than needed, and right after it, he was flatlined. And this guy is so disgusting, journalist, if you may call him a journalist, really, because he also accused, for example, my country, Ukraine, for fighting for its independence against Russia. Why you resist, Russia is stronger. And he propelled some other pro-Russian narratives out there, so I don't like the guy, as well as I don't like this guy. Yeah, I'm not happy about his death, but I absolutely didn't like Charlie. Once he even mentioned that Ukraine is responsible for millions of the life losses in Ukraine and in Russia. So if he was alive, I would say that he's just a shit, but now I will not tell that, okay? So I'm not happy about his death because no one deserves to be unalive just like that for, political news, but at the same time, those political views, they may harm because they create altogether this hatred, I may admit that it is also coming from the other camp, but from what I may judge, and I'm independent guy out there, I'm not living in the United States, I see the information from the news, from the influencers, I see most hatred is coming from this camp, from the far-right MAGA Trump supporters. And they really encourage each other to go for revenge, like they call for it from their media, from the Fox News.
They're telling us we're at war.
We're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
It's the political meaning. But at the same time, that Donald Trump tweets the picture of helicopters flying to Chicago, Chicago on fire, Chicacalypse, and they will find out why we renamed the defense ministry to the Ministry of War. It is not the war, according to their perspective, yeah? Fox News. It's better to share some of the quotes out of context from some of the Democratic speaker, yeah? Look at your freaking president, who is just a clown. So yeah, it's gonna be like escalation. They're calling for it. Press those Democrats, create a national division in the country. Let's make America weak again. Let's go dive into the civil war. Then, in fact, they should de-escalate the situation. We don't know who is the shooter. Maybe he's a freaking Trump supporter who just doesn't like Kirk. It's the low probability, but still, at least he's a gun owner, right? And Kirk, who said, okay, we should allow those few cases of the deaths happening in the United States to happen just to own our guns. That loss is acceptable. Well, he is now in that statistics. And judging how violent it gets in the United States, this statistics will grow and grow exponentially, as we saw in the graph about the school shootings. And let's listen to what Trump says here. I'll expedite him just a little, and also I cut some of the initial part.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year.
Yeah, it sounds pretty much reasonable, but judging on the hate also coming from Donald Trump himself, it sounds from his side unreasonable.
In the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today.
So only radical left are responsible for it. The rest are fluffy, puffy, true American patriots who will not harm anyone. But at the same time, if you check out MAGA influencers, what they spread is mostly hatred. Even if you take Elon Musk, one of the richest persons in the world, and what he tweets, definitely you'll see the real picture. And far left is this label created by Donald Trump to mark his enemies, nothing more.
My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people.
June this year, there was the shooting against the Democratic Party members in Minnesota. And again, he calls his opponents Democrats far left all the time.
Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God.
And about the death of Irina, a Ukrainian who fled to United States of America, who was stopped in a train, Donald Trump said that Democrats killed her and that everyone should vote for Republicans. He really mentioned it in his letter. So he uses those events just in his favor to propel interests of his circle and MAGA. It's like, Charlie Kirk, you are our great friend, but you know you died and we're gonna speculate and dance on your bones just to get more power to apply those ICE raids and dictatorship, so-called patriotic legislation in the United States in general, especially in democratic states, right? We're gonna introduce National Guard and so on. So those cases, if they continue to happen, especially in democratic states, they're kind of profitable to MAGA and to Donald Trump, you know, to raise the awareness. That's why people on the internet, they start to say about the false flag operation, because it's very profitable for the guys like Donald. And yes, I do not like Donald. In my opinion, based on evidence, on his behavior, his incompetence of ruling the United States of America, especially nowadays that there are many of the threats. That's why I do not expect like anything good coming for democratic world in general, because United States, well, at least before, it was a locomotive of democracy. with previous presidents, not with the current one. As I said to you before, Charlie was really the part of the hatred towards even American citizens. For example, he blamed Islam as the religion. Islam is the sword of the left, is using to slit the throat of America. So again, it creates the national division. Far left, Democrats, Republicans, Islam, Christians, everything is done like to ruin American society. That's why I didn't like this guy. And as I say to you in my previous video, I even hated this guy. And I understand hatred towards him. Well, as for me, it still doesn't deserve to be KA in front of the people just like that, no. But what he did with his actions, he made this thing to happen. Because after all, hate creates more hate. Yeah, I asked like that, how many Islam people are there in America? Well, something between 3.5 up to 4.5 million. I think it could be even more. It is 1.3% of the United States population. The data comes from 2024. So potentially someone from those people, he or she could be harmed with the words coming from Kirk. And very religious persons, they cannot forgive some stuff. Yeah, some say, oh, just Charlie Kirk saying about the stuff. But no, others may not understand that. And I see like lots and lots of the hatred out there in the social media as well, in Reddit, for example, or on X, Twitter. Then first, there are lots of the bots and bot farms who spread absolute delusional narratives. And second, there are crazy people who comment absolute disgraceful shit to many other persons and who do not get banned on Twitter. They openly humiliate, abuse and harm people with their comments, totally unhinged. And because we spend the great part of our lives over here in our phones, it may also influence our physical life. I'm sure that this case happened with Charlie Kirk as well. So we can go here. Yeah, so guy who did it, I mean the shooter, he was full of hate towards his schoolmates, and sometimes this aggression may find absolutely random victims. And sadly, guys, I don't see any sort of the magical pill for modern-day American society, but it also happens not just in America, in other countries as well. That's why I'm speaking about it too. For now, there is no like vivid lever to stop this problem once and for all. The issues people continue to speak about, like gun control, not banning arms, but gun control. Do not give guns to those crazy guys out there who go and zero people all around. That's the known problem of the United States that happens again and again. But the guys like Charlie Kirk and MAGA in general, they're firewalling this question. At the root, they don't want to speak about it, but after all, they become victims themselves of the same issue, uncontrolled gun ownership. And yes, lots of the hate. And there are lots of the people on the internet actually commenting that they like what happened to Charlie Kirk. Well, I personally against it, but I understand those people. I understand why they write like that. Because that guy spread absolute hatred towards them, towards their religions, towards their sexual orientation, political views. So yeah, they didn't like the guy. I also didn't like him because he was really outstandingly propelling the Russian narratives that only scumbags usually do out there. He just reposted what was published on Russia Today, that's it. And it seems like MAGA side doesn't understand that this guy had lots and lots of the hatred. And he also bears responsibility for what happened to him. Yes, the shooter is guilty, obviously, and according to the law, and I support law, the shooter should be fined and prosecuted. And what happened is absolutely bad, yes. But at the same time, I understand the problem, why it happened. National division, hatred spread, you understand me, because I continue to tell about it all this video. And I personally do not celebrate the stuff because the current White House administration, MAGA, will reinforce the power and strict measures applied on the other side, which they count their enemy. So United States is going to the deep shithole confrontation, which has never been before. At least I haven't witnessed this scale for a very, very long time. And it all started when Donald Trump was fighting for president's seat in 2016. And now especially, this hatred is everywhere. And guys, it was just my opinion. I could be wrong. You may leave your comments with your own thoughts. Nevertheless, stay awesome. Ciao.